Yeah, and just say like we need some real action here in Northern Ontario.
Yeah.
I walked in yesterday to this place and no, this is unacceptable. And somebody knows something and what we're hearing out there and I'm going to give you an email. We're just developing it actually, going to get it today of the complaints that have not been addressed in Northern Ontario. In Southern Ontario, these cases are not happening. They're acted upon so quickly compared to here.
Is there a lack of bodies that we have here?
I don't know if it's lack of bodies or lack of people doing their jobs,
You know what? Sounds like
but
the
enough
police.
is enough.
Sounds like the police station.
Yeah.
I was talking to a couple of people that used to work or still work here on the police force, and they said the level of chaos is crazy. So, to give me a specific example, and the example was in Toronto, if they have 30 calls to deal with on 911, they're hopping. Here, they could have 200, and if your home's getting broken into, well, we'll get to you probably within a week or two. And so some of the officers up here are leaving to go work down south because they just can't deal with GSPS.
Yeah. Well, and this is so for us, why is it so broken in Northern Ontario? Like when I'm getting calls like this, and you just saw 3 of them dumped on Montague Street this morning,
Ooh.
right? Or yesterday, sorry, 3 puppies dropped on Montague yesterday morning, and they look about 4 months old, and they're big bully breeds. No doubt somebody was breeding them and can't find homes for them, right? You can't sell puppies anymore, folks. You cannot sell
Those
puppies.
are the cute ones that everyone likes when they're babies.
Yeah. They have big square heads and look really tough little guys, and so
Yeah.
they look so cute. But they grow to be huge dogs, and there's already enough of them sitting in pounds and shelters, and enough being euthanized in big centers. Like enough is enough. We need to stop breeding any dog. And so those 3, that was a dumping
Is it
yesterday.
illegal to breed?
No, so this is where breeding should be. I feel that there's a couple things. We need to put laws in place for breeding, and we need to actually like do it correctly. These people should be claiming this as income. Like I said, if I come and fix build you a new basement, put your rec room in, and you pay me cash, that's called revenue under the table, right? You didn't pay taxes on that revenue, and that's illegal in Canada. It is. You can't work for cash. But what's the difference when you're breeding dogs and making income? You're breeding dogs and making $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 a year breeding dogs.
That's
And
cash
these are
money.
small puppy mills. That's cash money.
That's really just double it, and that's what they made at a real job. And it's tough to make.
Where's an
What?
$80,000, $90,000, $100,000 job sitting these days for people?
You get 60 in your pocket,
Yeah, well,
55, 60, maybe
That's
something around
right.
there.
whereas, so we're just saying, like, we need the government. Remember, all of our local pounds, all of our provincial animal welfare services, it's all paid for by taxpayer dollars in the province. So, how do we want to spend that money? Just keep going through good money after bad with no resolve? No. What we need to do is look and say, okay, what is it costing us to do this job? First of all, in Northern Ontario, we know they are not confiscating animals because they have nowhere to put them.
Mhm.
So their current process is to board them in a facility, here in the north somewhere where all the facilities are full now. So where are you? You have no way to confiscate
So
those
that's
animals.
above all
You have
this.
nowhere to, you have nowhere to put them. And so, I don't have a problem even helping out, and I have been for years where I go into places and they got no place for them, so I take them. But it's not correcting the problem because nobody's getting charged, nobody's held accountable, and all they do is go to the next address that they move to and start all over again. And we've seen that.
If you get caught, what's the penalty?
Well, there's very little penalty. I mean, I actually can't remember. There's a couple of abuse cases of animal abuse before the courts right now in Northern Ontario in Sudbury. There's one in North Bay where a guy stomped a bunch of kittens to death, and the police literally charged him, right? So, we need to get people more serious about the type of animal abuse because the calls coming in are 6, 8, 9, 10 dogs in a house. And our city is saying, well, those are neglect cases because they're in bad condition, so it falls under PAWS, which is provincial animal welfare. But that's not happening. So we should be then targeting and saying, okay, we have bylaws in our city that say X amount of pets, or you have to either get rid of pets and you have to pay licensing. So we're going to start calling those in and seeing what we can get done through our city because provincial animal welfare is not doing anything. The one I visited yesterday, those dogs are so antisocial. The 8, 10-month-olds are, we walk in a room and they're screaming and barking and coming at us. They're just antisocial. They haven't been out of a house. They've lived inside of a hoarding house for 10 months.
Do they go out to the backyard?
Not thinking they've ever been outside.
Ooh.
Yeah. The younger ones were recovering, like this, even the 6-week-olds last night were recovering, after a couple of hours, we could see a difference in them. That 8 to 10 week group we took, they're a little more skittish, but starting. But the older ones, there's like 8, 9 older ones that are 10 months old that are antisocial because I've never seen anywhere outside. So somebody must have known that was going on in that house, and somebody should have made a phone call, or did somebody make a phone call? And again, it was just another unanswered call in Northern Ontario. We've had so many deaths and suffering of animals right here in Sudbury and throughout the north that I'm aware of, because there was zero service provided by provincial animal welfare services.
So what does it take to get paws off their ass?
Well, I'm not sure what it's going to take, and I don't know if we have to start protests. I'm not sure if we have to flood their phones.
Where does paws get their money from?
Well, provincial animal welfare is funded by the government of Ontario. So it's taxpayer dollars paying for it. So what I'm saying is, somebody like me who's, background is process management, the process is badly broken. It's huge expensive on taxpayers. Even our local pounds. So you have provincial animal welfare that does the cruelty cases under the provincial umbrella. You have our city, Greater Sudbury Animal Shelter, is under our dollars right here in town, our Sudbury taxpayer dollars, right? So we pay for that pound. And apparently they're moving now. They've found a place closer in town. They wrote Petsave, which is good to hear that they're finding a place in town. It's very hard to position yourself with animals in neighborhoods. So apparently they have found a place in Minnow Lake, which is excellent. Brings them closer. But we need to start doing more proactive and more house calls to make sure, like, these people, I get a call a couple days ago on my line, a guy's beat 2 huskies to death on Melvin Street, and he has 7 more in the house. So, did a fight break out, and that's how the violence erupted? Because the dogs I got yesterday, you can see the injuries and the marks and the faces and the wounds. They have been fighting inside that house.
Dog to dog.
At 27, absolutely. And so now you have another gentleman who's had apparently 9, now 2 are dead. Where's our accountability for this? And this is where I'm starting to really focus time this year, is to start going after the government, saying, where is our resolve on these cases? And start documenting them all. So we're creating an email address that you'll be able to post. And we are asking everyone who has called and complained, whether, it be in our city or whether, somewhere in Northern Ontario, where we did not have service rendered. We've talked to too many people that have said, well, I called them and now the dog is dead. Well, I called them and now the cat is dead. But there's never any resolve. There's no accountability, no charges. So, it's almost like a free-for-all in the animal world right now, and there's no accountability.
Yeah, it's just falling on deaf ears.
On deaf ears.
Nothing
So we need to get our politicians. We're going to talk to NDP Jamie West, because he's our representative for Sudbury. And start asking him to take it to Queen's Park and ask the Premier Ford, why do we not have proper animal? Why is that allowing that cruelty and neglect allowed under his government to allow it to continue to happen without any accountability for his department?
So down south, the calls get handled relatively quickly, but up north?
Very slow. So we were involved in a case out of Barrie, and I was stunned how fast they went in and retrieved the animals.
Who went in and retrieved them?
Provincial Animal Welfare.
So PAWS.
Yeah.
The same organization that
is supposed to service
operates here?
Northern Ontario. So we were stunned. I remember talking to Kim, our girl, about it at the time, and we were like, wow, if we could get that kind of service up here in Northern Ontario, it's like we're just forgotten. And you look at the Sioux, where a young girl who, there was like literally dead bodies in freezers and dead bodies in barns and starved. It was on CTV News. So what came of that? Why was there nobody charged in that? We did the Moon Lake case, where we know repeatedly provincial animal welfare was called, and that woman ended up in the ICU unit almost dead. Those dogs almost killed her. Mm-hmm. 13, 14 dogs inside a house starving to death, turned on each other. They killed 3 cats in that house. We had 2 younger of the pups, smaller ones. You could tell they were probably next, right, in that house, had that incident not happened. And that husband had been attacked 6 weeks earlier, and they were called by a neighbor. They were called by the city several times.
Food starvation.
Well, it'll drive animals. I mean, so we have to remember, folks, food. Don't play with an animal's food. And you know, when you starve these animals and they come to the point of such suffering, that instinct, animal instinct to survive, will kick in. And they will do whatever it takes to survive, and it becomes me or you, right? So we've gone into various houses where, you know, cats, dogs dead, and no resolve over this. So those people, when there's no accountability, they just move on to the next address. These are transient people usually. So I mean, they're moving on to the next place and they're just going to do it again. So we need to stop these people. We also need to clamp down. I mean, there's lots of breeding going on in town. Where's their licensing, even to pet licensing? You know, I'm going to start calling in addresses saying these people own 7 dogs. They don't have any dog tags. Why are they not?
But they're not doing anything at all? No
Yeah, we
fines?
need to step it up both municipally and provincially to get a handle on this situation because it's spiraling out of control. And like, I mean, when you see how many litters are being dumped. Now, this home I visited yesterday, I'm sure their intention was to breed and make some money. Well, those days were gone in 2021, 2022. So now we have all these people who bred their dogs and they have nowhere for them to go. We are so overpopulated. I can't begin to tell people how overpopulated we are. And so stop. Just everybody stop getting dogs, stop breeding dogs. We need to stop everything today because we're in crisis levels. My building's almost 8,000 square feet, and I couldn't even do this house yesterday without calling out people to help me remove the animals that were inside the building because we anticipated they were going to be tough emotional cases, that they weren't going to come in all social and happy. So, you know, we made out a call, an urgent plea, and God bless the community of Sudbury because every time we call out for help, our animal lovers are there for us. So we're very grateful for that because the first thing I said to the ladies when it's happening at 2:00 today, and they said, "And where are you putting them?" And I'm like, wow, I have no idea, but I'm going to figure out something, right? So I got on the phones with some of our networks, and I've got some out at a friend's place in Whitefish. And, you know, we've got, we called in the bark bus to just do it all in one fall swoop there and get everybody.
So it's happening today at 2?
No, yesterday.
Oh,
We
yesterday.
did it yesterday at 2:00. And like I said, we called in the bark bus. You know, I called Craig Fielding and said, I need some help. And the bark bus. Have you ever heard of the bark bus? Well, I'll tell you, it has saved, like, just direct, probably 8, 9, 10,000 lives. Indirectly, probably 30,000 lives. So it's a huge. We're very fortunate. Northern Legacy donates a trailer and converted to have all dog cages in it, and they move. They're a transporter now. They move animals from Northern Ontario, where we're mass overpopulated, into Southern Ontario, where there's you know, mass populace. Like you have millions of people in Southern Ontario, so they can absorb overpopulation better than we can. We're just little Northern Ontario. We've probably got like 160,000, 200,000 people in the north that are actually viable customers for an adoption for a dog, right? So, and because we have a lot of First Nation communities, especially the fly-ins up north and some remote communities, there's very little access to vet care, which we're trying this year to start providing to reduce those numbers. And so they get flown into major centers like Timmins, Thunder Bay, and the bark bus picks them up and drives them throughout the province. So, or sometimes groups come into town, into Sudbury and meet, and they unload the bark bus here in Sudbury.
As well, I guess.
Nope, it's just funded solely by Craig Fielding, who provides that bark bus, just out of his generosity and love for animals. And I'll tell you, if it wasn't for him, like he's our lifeline to the north, like truly for all these places. I can't even tell you the suffering that has been reduced simply because of the bark bus for transportation. But we need to get those numbers down. And like I said yesterday, I called the bark bus locally, which is unusual. Usually it's a northern trip. And I said, I got 27. You know, we don't have a vehicle to take that many adult dogs in one shot. And when you go to those places, you really just want to do it all at once and get it done. So I called up Craig and asked for the bark bus, and he said absolutely, and provided me some of his staff and the bark bus, and we went in, and inside of 45 minutes had them all loaded.
So for that place where you took all the animals out of,
Yeah.
what's going to happen there?
Nothing.
How long is it going to be until they have the same situation again?
Well, this is it. And you know what? You know, like say we had a donor come forward and say, listen, I'll pay to spay and neuter his female and male, which is the two original dogs that started all these numbers.
Mhm.
And we'll be returning those dogs after they're fixed. So we've been doing that for years. I always say to people, give me your litter of kittens, puppies, I don't care. You just have to spay them on with me. And that way we stop the population right there. Like yesterday, that apartment will cost our charity $25,000. $25,000 was sitting in that house just in vet care. That's your spay, neuter, vaccinations, food, right? So that's a lot of money. So where do you get $25,000? Well, our people, our volunteers at our thrift store are working really hard this week because Jill's out there spending a whole lot of money, right? And again, yesterday I was so fortunate the community came forward and said, yeah, we're going to help you make space so you can bring in those 27 dogs. So now I've got a group out of Perry Sound that rescue I work with. We work in a large network and help each other out. And she's agreed to take the youngest litter of 6-week-olds. So that'll help move them on because we don't even have enough homes. I have almost 200 dogs today in my care. 200 dogs. That's just the dog side of the house. You know what I mean? It's pretty
That's
scary out
just
there. Kitten
crazy.
season is just starting, and we've jumped already, I think, 25, 30 kittens, in the last, week or two, and it's going to peak. We'll go up to 200, 100 kittens.
When you say kitten season,
Kitten
what do you
season,
mean?
isn't that sad? Like we haven't.
What do you mean kitten season?
Because basically kittens start in the spring.
They start
and
popping out and
they
showing up?
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's when cats get pregnant is in the heat seasons, right? And so they go into heat in the spring, they start up, and it's all weather related actually, because as the warmer the temperatures, the more heat cycles they can go into.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why I call them a heat cycle. And
Really good.
yeah, and so what happens is, a little too friendly though. We're multiplying, not a good thing. So we, there's going to be somebody knows of somebody who has a litter of kittens right now. So we're saying, you know what? Here's an opportunity to make a really smart choice. Why don't you call us up? I run a program through East Village Animal Hospital. We host them at our clinic, at our vet clinic in our shelter. And when they come, they have a low-cost spay neuter program. So people on middle to lower income can access affordable vet care. So we run a spay neuter program with them. And I have an additional fund, that the Sue McCullough Memorial Fund, that I kick in another 50% just to make it really enticing for people to spay or neuter.
Mhm.
So you can spay your cat for $85. You can neuter your cat for $70. So we just ask people that give us 100% of the kittens, because if you start giving those kittens away, guess what happens? The next guy, now we just have that litter happening again, but now we've got those offspring having litters.
Mhm.
And generally just over half, 60% is usually females in a litter. About 60%. There's always more females than males in a litter. So your reproduction numbers just start to spiral. And when you look at one unspayed female cat,
7,000.
over 3 years, exponentially can equal 7,000 kittens.
That's a whole beautiful disaster in itself.
Absolutely. And how do you, right? And yeah, they're so cute.
Oh, they're
But they
cute.
cost a lot of money. Those free kittens, are just so much money. So to actually,
It's the public's fault too, because they take them.
well, people, they look at the cute thing. And let's face it, pets are emotional.
Mhm.
Right? Oh my God, my heart goes out. Look at that cute puppy. Look at that cute kitten.
But they're a responsibility.
That's where people don't make the connection.
I look at
Or the financial part of the responsibility, right?
I look at my cat this morning. He's not even a year old, but he's on his back, he's purring, and he's at my feet, and he just wants attention. So, and I'm trying to get out the door, but you see him, and then okay, I got to get going. But they're there, and they're just like you said. They just walk and they drop in front of you.
Yep. And my girls, I feel guilty because I work long hours.
Yeah.
So I can't own a dog anymore. I've just fostered a litter, help foster and nurse a litter of 2-week-old Rottweiler puppies.
Yeah.
Their mom had turned on them, somebody breeding their dog. And your mom turns on them. They go, oh my God, eight is so overwhelming.
Mom turned on its
turned on the offspring.
kids?
Absolutely. Well, she probably had too many litters and she's fed up. So she
Okay.
became aggressive. She became aggressive with her puppies and wouldn't feed them anymore. And they're 2 weeks old. Well, they need mom and they're going to die.
And Mom's
So we-
just fed up.
She decided she wasn't nursing them anymore.
Okay.
So we took them on, right? We have eight little Rottweilers that are 2 weeks old that require bottle feeding every 2 hours around the clock, every 2 to 3 hours. So not a lot of sleep was had for a month, right? Till they're able to eat on their own. And so it's a lot of work. Not to mention formula costs alone. That litter alone cost us $2,000.
So what happens to the mom and the owners of it?
So she's spaying the female.
When?
I think she learned her lesson.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How many times did it take for her to learn
God
her
knows how
lesson?
many litters that dog had.
5, 6?
And and Rottweilers it's really interesting because Rottweilers is a breed. So right now you always have their trends, right? Like when I first started, like Rotties were big, Dobermans were big.
Hmm.
Those were really popular. And then these bullies, then the pocket purse dogs there with the Paris Hilton and my little dog.
Yeah.
And then it was now the bullies, all the bullies, the little square heads, and they look like little tough guys. So right, and they are cute as buttons, but they all grow up to be like 100-pound, like 1,700-pound dogs,
Yeah.
and they're powerful. So
Yeah.
suddenly then you get the old number, all of them start on the surrender lines, and I just this business of getting a dog, first of all, not researching the breed. Everybody looks at a puppy. Well, you just have to ask yourself, what's down the road? How big is it going to be? What kind of exercise regimen does it need, right? Because bullies are huge popular. And I was surprised with this litter of Rotties. All of our applicants are all older people.
Really?
And it's because I think they were such a trend back then. But what's really funny, which I found odd at the time, was if you owned a Rottweiler back 20 years ago, most home insurance policies would not insure you.
Why?
Because you owned a Rottweiler. They were deemed as a dangerous breed. They're actually big muffin heads. They're lovely dogs. I love them. They're so chill. But again, the wrong people owned them,
Yeah.
creating aggression issues. They get a bad reputation.
Yeah.
Just like now bullies, all pit bulls are seen as bad dogs, right?
Yeah, I always viewed Rotties as not favorable.
Because they look mean. Don't they look mean? But they
Sure,
actually
they're
are the
cute.
sweetest little things.
So you know what? It's
They
just like anyone. It's how you raise your
Absolutely.
kid or your animal.
Mhm.
Your kid
That's
can
everything.
be a cussing
Hellion?
menace at 10 years old. I've seen a few of those. Or your
Not saying you have
dog.
one, but
I don't have one, but I know they
Yes.
do exist.
We see them come into our shelter. We see them come into our thrift store, and you can always tell those people who spent time with their child because they're well behaved, and those who didn't, well, just not percentages. Now I'm gonna get some hate mail from some parents, but it's like the animals are the same thing. If you don't train your dog from the beginning, and he becomes a mess, like I this week, the amount of calls of hi, I have a 100-pound dog, and I just can't deal with them. Well, they wait until they wrecked the dog completely. Now he's 100 pounds pulling your right shoulder off, and now you just want to ditch him, right? And the amount of surrenders. What scares me is we used to take in so many surrenders, and now we don't have the capacity, the space for it because there's so many. So what's happening to those poor dogs? And this is where I say about too many dogs ending up in people's houses. They initially thought, oh, I'll just have a litter and get rid of them. But it didn't happen that way. This guy we visited yesterday has 3 separate litters living in that house.
I think
Plus the original mom and dog. Mom
Like-
and dad.
I think the education is what's really needed because you got to educate the general population not to go and get an animal from a breeder,
Freebie.
a
Or the
freebie,
freebies
yeah.
or the breeders.
Just go to the shelter first
Yeah.
to see what's available because I'm sure you'll get, like you said, you've got every single breed under the sun.
I've
Pretty
had
much.
everything. I've had every purebred. I've even had a Karelian bear dog, which is so rare in Canada, and it ended up starved in my building. Almost starved to death when I received it. So when people say, "But I find good homes for my dogs," I love when people say that, and I think, God, if everybody actually found those homes, I wouldn't exist. I'd be out in the golf course right now
Uh-huh.
golfing, and instead I'm not. I'm working extra hours this week again because somebody decided to have 27, and this guy gets into trouble, right? Like, and somebody knows somebody like that right now, and please let us know who they are. We need to work with them. We need to get these people cleaned up and get them out. Get them back down to manageable. And like I say, this young gentleman that we just dealt with, the 27, we're going to spay and neuter his male and female. So the population stops there. That was a condition. I take everything, but everything gets spayed and neutered. That's left behind.
Spay and neuter, fix the problem.
Yep. But accountability, we need our provincial animal welfare really needs to get on the job here. We've got so much neglect and abuse going on that it's rampant in Northern Ontario. The calls are out of control, and we have zero power. So there's only 2 sources of power when you have a neglect and abuse case. One is our city bylaw.
Yeah.
So if they're over the numbers and they're barking their heads off in cages, like we have people in Coniston doing that right now, then get on them for the numbers. They have no licenses, give them a fine. They have no dog tags. So find them and reduce their numbers. That helps head off the problem, right? Because then you end up in those provincial animal welfare cases. They progress to that. So we just need to, again, spay and neuter. Contact Petsave. If you know anybody who has a litter of kittens, anybody who has a litter of puppies, or has unfixed cat or dogs in their house right now, call us and talk to us about what our spay neuter programs are like. We have various programs available, and it will help us get those numbers down. And as well, the SPCA has a spay neuter program going as well over at Collage Boreal. So, either one of us, just contact us. We need to spay our way out of this disaster, and it's the only way we're going to stop the suffering. So please spay and neuter. Without sounding like
right.
Bob Barker.
Jill, good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks for dropping by.
All right.
We'll see you soon.
All right.